Imagine that throughout your life, you've been taught to believe that the path to success is a relentless journey of effort. Waking up every day, pouring all your energy into every task, and never giving up until your dreams become reality. This is how many of us think life works. But what if I told you that this concept is fundamentally wrong? What if everything you believe about achieving success and happiness is actually keeping you away from what you truly desire? We live in a world that glorifies persistence and hard work. Phrases like, never give up, and give it your all echo everywhere. On social media, in self-help books, and even in our daily conversations. However, there's a hidden truth that few notice. Sometimes the harder we try, the further we drift from our goals. It's as if we're swimming against an invisible current. This leads to an unsettling question. What if the key to getting everything we want doesn't lie in effort, but in relaxation? This idea truly challenges everything we've been taught since childhood. This is the foundation of an ancient yet little-known life philosophy, the backwards law. This law states that by stopping trying so hard, you can start to achieve what you desire in a natural and unexpected way. Imagine, instead of fighting against the flow of life, you simply allow it to take you where you need to be. Before we dive deeper, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you can keep receiving content that will lead to your true transformation. Alan Watts, the renowned philosopher, explored this question in his teachings. In his lectures, he often discussed the illusion of control and how, in our relentless pursuit of success, we lose ourselves in our own desires. Watts said that, just like in the art of swimming, the water supports you better when you stop fighting against it. When we relax, the current carries us. When we stop struggling to stay afloat, we find our balance. According to him, life works the same way. The more we try to control the outcome, the more it slips away from us. Interestingly, this idea isn't new. Ancient philosophers also pondered deeply on it. Epicurus, for instance, argued that happiness doesn't come from the frantic pursuit of pleasures or success, but rather from reducing our desires. He believed that the simpler our aspirations, the closer we are to true peace and contentment. These reflections lead us to a broader understanding of what truly holds us back from achieving our dreams. Are we inadvertently creating barriers by trying so hard? Is the solution to loosen the reins and trust that sometimes the best thing to do is to simply let things happen? Throughout this video, we will explore how this approach can radically change the way we live. We will delve deep into the backwards law and discover why it challenges so many of our beliefs. From personal stories to scientific insights and philosophical wisdom, you'll see that perhaps the secret to achieving everything you desire isn't about forcing life, but rather flowing with it. But before we dive deeper into the essence of this law, it's crucial to understand how this resistance manifests in our lives. The way our mind and body respond to excessive effort can, in fact, be one of the biggest obstacles to success. Let's look at how modern science helps explain this phenomenon. Getting straight to the point, the backwards law directly challenges the notion that controlling every aspect of life is the path to success. What many don't realize is that this attempt at absolute control, instead of guiding us in the right direction, can create a counterproductive effect, much like trying to grasp water with your hands closed. The backwards law shows us that the more we try to force an outcome, the more emotional, psychological, and even physical resistance we create. This is something that we may have intuitively felt during crucial moments in our lives. Think of all the times you desperately tried to achieve a goal. Whether it was passing an exam, landing a job, or even getting someone's attention, and the harder you tried, the more the outcome seemed to slip through your fingers. This happens because when we insist on trying to control everything around us, we trigger a state of mental alertness. Our brains interpret this pressure as a stress signal. The nervous system gets activated, releasing hormones like cortisol, which puts us into survival mode. In this state, the natural flow of thought and action is hindered. In other words, continuous effort and the resulting anxiety leave us paralyzed, blocking our own progress. And science has a lot to say about this. Studies in psychology and neuroscience show that obsessing over a specific outcome can, paradoxically, reduce our chances of achieving it. Research on what's called the control paradox demonstrates that when we try to control too much, our brains enter a cycle of tension. This cycle affects our ability to make clear and spontaneous decisions, blocking what many refer to as the flow state. That mental state where we perform tasks with ease and efficiency, free from the constant pressure to achieve the perfect result. Psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, who coined the concept of flow, showed in his research that people perform at their best when they are deeply immersed in their activities, but without an obsessive concern for the final outcome. This flow state, contrary to popular belief, is not achieved through rigidity and control, but through surrender and detachment. In other words, the more relaxed we are, the greater our chances of reaching our goals. To illustrate this practically, let's consider the story of someone who, like many of us, spent years desperately trying to achieve success. Let's call him Mark. He was always obsessed with the idea of becoming a successful entrepreneur. Mark sacrificed years of his life chasing investments, creating meticulous plans, and controlling every detail of his journey. However, the harder he tried, the more doors seemed to close. He lived in stress, anxiety, and frustration, not understanding why his efforts weren't paying off. Then something happened. In a moment of exhaustion, Mark decided to stop fighting so hard. He didn't give up on his dreams, but for a moment, he let go of trying to control every aspect. He began focusing on the small actions of daily life, without forcing the big success he so desired. It was in that moment of detachment that opportunities began to appear. A casual encounter with an old colleague led to a conversation that, in turn, resulted in an unexpected business partnership. When Mark stopped trying to control the future, he finally allowed things to unfold naturally. This story reflects what many of us have experienced to some degree. When we stop forcing things, results often emerge spontaneously. This doesn't mean we should abandon our dreams, but rather that we should learn to loosen our tight grip on them. By letting go of the need to force a particular outcome, we create space for the natural flow of life, and it's in that space that the magic happens. So what makes the backwards law so powerful? It goes against the current of conventional logic, yet it aligns us with a deeper truth, that life flows better when we allow it to take its course. However, as we saw with Mark's story, detachment isn't about giving up on our goals. It's about stopping the attempt to control every detail. When we do this, we reduce both internal and external resistance, allowing opportunities to manifest organically. These ideas are not just modern concepts. Since ancient times, great thinkers have reflected on this same truth. Philosophers like Epicurus, Schopenhauer, and Alan Watts, each in their time, realized that the secret to a successful and fulfilling life doesn't lie in relentlessly pursuing what we desire, but in learning to let go. From the dawn of philosophy, great thinkers have pondered human behavior and its complexities. The notion that excessive effort can, paradoxically, impede the achievement of our desires isn't exclusive to modern times. In fact, it dates back to ancient times when philosophers questioned the role of desire in human life. Contrary to what one might think, the path to happiness and success, according to these thinkers, isn't in chasing but in letting go. Epicurus, one of the most well-known philosophers of ancient Greece, was among the first to explore this notion. He believed that the relentless pursuit of material desires or fleeting pleasures was the primary cause of human suffering. Epicurus argued that true happiness came from simplicity and reducing desires, not multiplying them. He saw no issue in seeking pleasure but warned that excessive desire inevitably leads to dissatisfaction. After all, the more you desire, the more there is to lose. Thus, detachment, or at least moderation in what we seek, would be the way to a peaceful and suffering-free life. When we think about the backwards law, Epicurus' ideas resonate deeply. By reducing the pressure we place on ourselves, we lessen the weight of our expectations. The less obsessed we are with hitting a specific target, the freer we are to enjoy the process and the present. This lightness brings us closer to true happiness, a happiness built not on the constant pursuit of more, but on the acceptance of less. Following the same line of thought, Arthur Schopenhauer, a 19th-century German philosopher, took an even more radical stance by asserting that desire is the source of all human suffering. Schopenhauer believed that desire creates a gap between what we have and what we want, and that this gap consumes us. His philosophy advocated for detachment and the abandonment of desire as a means to achieve inner peace. For Schopenhauer, happiness was attained not when we fulfilled all our desires, but when we ceased to be slaves to them. Think about this for a moment. How much of your daily suffering is rooted in your unfulfilled desires? The search for the ideal job, the perfect relationship, the dream house, all these longings, according to Schopenhauer, are sources of constant frustration because desire never exhausts itself. As soon as one goal is achieved, another arises in its place, keeping us in an endless cycle of pursuit and dissatisfaction. Here, we see the backwards law in action again. By letting go of the obsessive control over what we want, we create space for tranquility to emerge. The detachment advocated by Schopenhauer is a way to release this internal tension, allowing peace and satisfaction to settle into our lives. It is when we stop desperately chasing happiness that, ironically, we get closer to it. Moving into the 20th century, we find Alan Watts, a contemporary philosopher who helped popularize the ideas of Taoism and Zen Buddhism in the West. Watts, like Epicurus and Schopenhauer, was a strong advocate of the idea that excessive control is the enemy of true peace. He frequently cited Taoism, which teaches the importance of Wu Wei, the concept of effortless action. In simple terms, Wu Wei means acting in harmony with the natural flow of things, without forcing or struggling. The idea is that the more we try to control or force life, the further we move away from its natural flow. Watts also spoke about Zen Buddhism, which promotes detachment as a path to awakening. For him, the relentless pursuit of material or emotional goals keeps us trapped in a cycle of frustration. Only when we stop trying to control life and accept its unpredictability are we able to experience true freedom. Watts said that life is like a boat drifting down a river. The more we relax and allow the current to guide us, the smoother and more natural our movements become. These philosophies teach us a valuable lesson. Absolute control is an illusion. Life, in its essence, is unpredictable and fluid. The more we try to dominate its twists and turns, the more frustrated we become. The secret, then, is not to resist, but to surrender to its flow. This is the heart of the backwards law. But what does this really mean for our everyday lives? We are used to hearing that we must fight for what we want, that we must be tireless in our pursuit of success. These philosophies, on the other hand, invite us to reconsider this approach. They encourage us to let go of the weight of expectations and embrace uncertainty with more ease. Perhaps it is in this act of letting go that true transformation occurs. And this brings us to a question we all face at some point in life. By actively seeking happiness, are we actually distancing ourselves from it? Is the key to a fuller and more satisfying life to stop searching tirelessly and allow happiness to arise on its own? Happiness, this feeling of peace, contentment, and fulfillment, is something we all deeply desire. Since the dawn of civilization, the quest for happiness has been one of humanity's greatest drives. But, ironically, the more we pursue this happiness in an active and obsessive way, the more it seems to slip through our fingers. This disconcerting paradox is central to the backwards law. The more we directly seek happiness, the more we distance ourselves from it. Think of moments in your life when you were desperately trying to be happy. Perhaps it was in a relationship, in a new job, or in achieving a personal goal. You placed all your expectations on that event, believing that upon achieving it, you would finally feel that deep sense of satisfaction. But as soon as you reached it, something strange happened. The happiness you expected didn't come, at least not in the way you imagined. And soon after, a new pursuit began, a new goal to be achieved. Thus, happiness remained always as a distant horizon, something that seems constantly out of reach. This happens because when we set happiness as a target to be achieved, it transforms into something conditional. I will be happy when we tell ourselves, creating a mental formula where happiness depends on a series of external variables. But by doing this, we fall into a trap. Happiness, which should be an internal and spontaneous feeling, becomes a goal that seems to recede further away each time we try to reach it. Modern science offers profound insights into this phenomenon. Research in neuroscience and positive psychology shows that the obsessive pursuit of happiness can, in fact, increase stress and anxiety. Our brain processes rewards in a complex way. When we focus too much on achieving a specific outcome, like happiness, we activate the brain circuits of expectation and reward. And the greater the expectation, the greater the fall when that reward does not manifest in the way we imagined. In a study published in the Journal of Experimental Psychology, researchers found that people who put too much pressure on themselves to be happy end up feeling more dissatisfied. This occurs because, when trying to force a sense of happiness, we burden ourselves with expectations of how we should feel. When the expected feeling does not appear or is not as intense as we expected, we feel frustrated, reinforcing the sense that something is missing. A clear example of this can be seen in the life of Anna, a young woman who always believed that happiness lay in achieving her great ambitions. She dedicated years to getting into her dream university, convinced that this would be the moment when she would finally feel the long-desired satisfaction. However, when she was accepted, the joy she expected to feel was fleeting, almost ephemeral. Soon, she found herself immersed in new worries and challenges, and the happiness she had associated with that great achievement dissolved. It was only when Anna stopped obsessively chasing the next major milestone in her life and began to focus on small daily pleasures, conversations with friends, leisure moments, creative activities, that she started to experience a more genuine and constant happiness. She realized that happiness was not something to be chased, but something to be allowed. And here lies the great lesson. Happiness, when sought as a goal, becomes an unattainable illusion. It's like trying to catch fine sand with your hands. The more you try to hold on, the more it slips through your fingers. True happiness, on the other hand, arises when we stop trying to force it. When we cease to condition it on great events or achievements, we begin to notice that it is, in fact, in simple moments and in being present. But this doesn't mean we should abandon our goals and ambitions. In fact, the secret is to find a balance. Having objectives, yes, but not conditioning our happiness to them. Authentic happiness arises when we stop the incessant pursuit and begin to allow ourselves to live it in small things. A walk outdoors, a conversation with a loved one, the satisfaction of completing a daily task. This is one of the reasons why mindfulness and meditation practices have gained so much popularity in the West. They teach the art of being present in the moment, without fixating on an idealized future where, supposedly, we will finally be happy. Mindfulness invites us to experience life as it is now, without the need to chase after happiness, but rather to allow it to manifest here and now. Therefore, true happiness is not something that is achieved by chasing after it. It happens when we stop, breathe, and give ourselves permission to live it in the present. The backwards law teaches us that by letting go of the need to control when and how we will be happy, we open space for happiness to flow naturally into our lives. And just as with happiness, the same principle applies to many other aspects of life. For example, in our relationship with wealth and the desire for material prosperity. Just like happiness, the obsessive pursuit of wealth can distance us from what truly matters and create a constant sense of lack. But how can we change this relationship? When we talk about wealth, the most common image that comes to mind is that of money, material possessions, and social status. For many, prosperity is measured by the amount of money accumulated, the position achieved, or the lifestyle they can flaunt. However, just like with happiness, the incessant pursuit of wealth can distance us from a true sense of prosperity and well-being. How many times have you heard stories of people who, despite having reached the peak of financial success, continue to feel empty and dissatisfied? It seems that the more money they accumulate, the more they feel that something is missing. This is not mere coincidence. There is a deep explanation behind this feeling of lack, and it is rooted in the way we associate desire with prosperity. The backwards law teaches us that the more obsessively we focus on acquiring wealth, the more we create an internal sense of scarcity. The desire for more, when taken to the extreme, reinforces the belief that we never have enough. Thus, even if we achieve significant financial milestones, the emptiness remains because the relentless pursuit of more feeds a mindset of lack. As a result, many people, despite their financial success, may feel trapped in a cycle of dissatisfaction and anxiety. There's an old story that illustrates this truth simply. An extremely wealthy man lived in a luxury palace, surrounded by riches and power. However, he couldn't find peace. The more he accumulated, the more he craved. No amount of gold, land, or possessions seemed to fill the void he felt. One day, he encountered a wise man living a humble and serene life. Intrigued, the rich man asked the sage what the secret was to feeling truly prosperous. The wise man replied with disarming simplicity, "You will only be truly rich when you learn to be content with what you already have." This ancient wisdom echoes the essence of the backwards law. True wealth is not solely in material possessions but in the mental state of contentment and detachment. When prosperity is measured only by the accumulation of material wealth, it becomes fragile and limited. However, when we view it as a matter of mindset, a feeling of fullness and gratitude for what we already have, it expands far beyond money and possessions. It's important to understand that we're not suggesting that the pursuit of financial improvement is wrong. There's nothing wrong with wanting to thrive. However, the problem arises when we tie our self-esteem and happiness to the accumulation of riches. When the desire for more dominates us, we end up feeling trapped in an endless cycle, where no amount seems sufficient to give us the peace we seek. Science also provides insights into this psychological trap. Studies in behavioral economics reveal that once our basic needs are met, more money does not lead to a proportional increase in happiness. At a certain point, the pursuit of more wealth can even generate more stress and less satisfaction. Why is that? Our minds become trained to always seek the next financial goal, leading us to focus on what we don't yet have instead of appreciating what we've already achieved. Let's recall the story of Claudio, a businessman who dedicated his life to accumulating wealth. He always believed that the more money he had, the safer and happier he would be. Indeed, he achieved everything he ever wanted: luxury cars, international travel, and a grand house. However, upon reaching this level of success, he realized that satisfaction was temporary. Instead of feeling fulfilled, he began to wonder why, despite having everything, he still felt a void. It was only when Claudio started to shift his mindset, focusing on what truly mattered to him, meaningful relationships, time for himself, and gratitude for the little things, that he began to experience a genuine sense of prosperity. This shift in perspective transforms our relationship with wealth. When we stop chasing more at all costs and focus on an internal state of contentment and fullness, we discover that true prosperity lies in our minds, not in our possessions. When we detach from the obsession with the material, we make room for a deeper kind of wealth, one that cannot be bought or measured but felt in our hearts. Just as with wealth, love also follows this same logic. Often, it is in the desperate search for relationships and affection that we drift away from what we truly desire. Love, like prosperity, flourishes when we stop actively seeking and turn instead to self-discovery and acceptance of who we are. True love arises naturally when we stop searching for it so intensely. Both love and happiness, as well as prosperity, are often treated as something to be chased. From an early age, we are conditioned to believe that true love is a goal we must achieve, something dependent on finding the perfect person or being in the right relationship. However, the backwards law challenges this idea by suggesting that the more desperately we seek love, the more it seems to elude us. The secret, perhaps, lies in stopping the search and focusing on self-awareness. It's easy to see why so many people fall into the trap of pursuing love as if it were a prize to be won. Popular narratives, whether in movies, literature, or social media, feed the fantasy that love is something external, something that comes from outside us to fill a void within. But what if that void could only be filled from within? What if true love could only blossom when we first learn to love ourselves? Schopenhauer, the philosopher we've mentioned, believed that unchecked desire is a source of suffering, and romantic love was no exception. According to him, the constant search for another person to complete us creates a cycle of frustration. We place all our expectations on the other person, hoping they'll bring us the happiness we feel is missing. However, when that happiness doesn't arrive, or when the relationship doesn't meet our idealized expectations, the result is a feeling of disillusionment. What Schopenhauer teaches us is that attachment to our romantic desires, this constant longing to be loved or to find our soulmate, is often what prevents us from experiencing real love. Alan Watts also reflected on this theme, bringing insights from Zen Buddhism and Taoism. He frequently spoke about the importance of letting go in relationships. For Watts, love is like a butterfly. The more you try to grasp it, the further it flies away. But if you stop trying to control it, it may come and gently land on your shoulder. He believed love cannot be forced or demanded. It arises naturally when we are in tune with ourselves and the world around us. This leads us to a simple yet often overlooked truth. Self-knowledge is the key to experiencing true love. When we deeply understand ourselves, when we recognize our fears, insecurities, desires, and boundaries, we are better prepared to love and be loved. When we seek love without first understanding ourselves, we risk projecting our emptiness and needs onto another, hoping they will resolve them for us. However, by doing so, we place an unsustainable burden on the relationship, which often results in frustration and pain. Take the example of Camila. For years, she jumped from relationship to relationship, believing that by finding the right person, she would finally feel that sense of fullness she was so desperately seeking. Yet, whenever a new relationship began, the same story repeated itself. At first, everything seemed perfect, but soon Camila's insecurities and fears would resurface, creating a cycle of emotional sabotage. It was only when she decided to step back from romantic expectations and focus on her own personal growth that things changed. By diving into self-discovery, through therapy, meditation, and moments of introspection, Camila began to understand her own needs and learn to love herself, flaws and all. And it was in that moment, unexpectedly, that a healthy and genuine relationship emerged in her life, free from the weight of desperate pursuit. Camila's story illustrates a profound principle of the backwards law. Love is not something you find through active searching. It emerges when you are at peace with yourself, when you stop trying to fill internal voids with another person. It is self-knowledge that provides the foundation for healthy and lasting relationships because, when we truly know ourselves, we don't expect the other to save or complete us. Instead, we're ready to share our fullness. This idea also resonates with the philosophies of Schopenhauer and Watts. Love flourishes in the space of freedom, not in the realm of control. When we let go of rigid expectations about how love should be, we create room for it to manifest in a more natural, authentic, and lasting way. Now that we understand how true love can arise through self-discovery and detachment, one question remains. How can we apply this in our daily beliefs and patterns? How can we align our affirmations with this new way of life, where control is replaced by natural flow? The human mind is an intriguing maze where beliefs and perceptions shape our reality. Since childhood, we have been conditioned to adopt certain truths about ourselves and the world. These beliefs, whether positive or negative, have the power to influence our actions and outcomes. So, what can we do to transform our lives? We can question these beliefs and reshape them constructively. Affirmations are a powerful tool, but they are often misunderstood. Many people believe that simply repeating motivational phrases will lead to significant changes. However, the true power of affirmations lies in their ability to align with the deep-seated beliefs already present in our minds. If you affirm that you deserve love and success, but internally believe that you're unworthy of them, your words become empty and incapable of generating transformation. Research in psychology shows that our beliefs shape our perception and can influence our behaviors. For example, a study published in Psychological Science found that people who adopt a growth mindset, those who believe they can develop their abilities through effort and learning, tend to achieve better results in various areas of life. This highlights how a shift in belief can lead to real changes in experience. A fundamental concept here is neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself and form new neural connections. When we challenge limiting beliefs and replace them with empowering ones, we are literally reprogramming our brains. This process requires discipline and consistency. It's not just about saying words, but about incorporating them into our daily actions. To effect this change, start by identifying your limiting beliefs. Ask yourself, what do I really believe about myself? And are these beliefs based on facts or just narratives I've accepted? Then, create affirmations that contradict these negative beliefs. For instance, If you believe you're not good enough, start affirming, I am competent and capable of overcoming challenges. The key is repetition and practical application. Try to integrate your new beliefs into your daily actions and observe how they impact your life. When beliefs and actions align, you activate a positive cycle that generates tangible results. Your sense of self-efficacy strengthens, making you more confident in your decisions and actions. This integration of beliefs and behaviors not only helps you overcome obstacles, but also opens doors to new opportunities, creating a new life pattern. By taking ownership of your beliefs and adjusting how you see and act, you begin to access an inner power that has always been within your reach. The journey of self-discovery is crucial, revealing that true power lies in the harmony between mind and action. This harmony is found when we enter a state of flow. In this state, we let go of excessive control and surrender to the moment, allowing our actions to unfold naturally. The flow state is an extraordinary experience, a mental state where action and awareness merge, creating a deep sense of engagement and fulfillment. Imagine being so absorbed in a task that you lose track of time and space around you. This state is not just pleasurable, it's also a powerful performance enhancer. When we are in flow, our potential is maximized, and creativity flows freely. Psychologists like Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, who popularized the concept of flow, describe it as a state where we challenge our skills while still feeling in control of the situation. To achieve flow, a delicate balance between challenge and skill is necessary. If we are too pressured or, conversely, too uninterested, the chances of entering this state decrease. One key to attaining flow is detachment. Instead of forcing outcomes, detachment allows actions to unfold naturally. When you focus too much on the result, you can create internal pressure that hinders flow. Detachment doesn't mean neglecting your goals. Rather, it means being open to the possibilities that arise as you engage with the present. A classic example of this dynamic can be seen in high-performance athletes. Many report entering a flow state during competition, where pressure and external distractions fade away. They stop thinking about winning and instead focus on doing what they do best. This mindset of releasing control and allowing natural skills to manifest is what leads them to success. Furthermore, science supports this approach. Studies have shown that specific areas of the brain, such as the prefrontal cortex, become more active during the flow state. These areas are responsible for higher cognitive functions, such as decision-making and problem-solving. When we are in flow, our minds are free to explore and innovate, resulting in peak performance. To cultivate the flow state in your life, start identifying activities that engage you. What makes you lose track of time? Once you discover these activities, seek opportunities to practice them, allowing yourself to fully immerse in the experience. Set challenging yet achievable goals, and practice mindfulness, keeping your focus on the present moment. Engaging in meditation techniques can also help develop this ability. The flow state is not just a personal experience. It has profound implications for how we work and relate to others. When we find ourselves in this state, we become more creative, productive, and ultimately more satisfied with our lives. Experiencing flow not only enhances our performance, but also contributes to a sense of well-being and happiness. As we learn to cultivate this state, we arrive at a crucial conclusion. Living in the present is essential for true happiness. This practice reveals the power of now and shows how mindfulness guides us toward a purposeful life. Living in the present is one of the most profound and transformative lessons we can learn. In a world full of distractions and worries, we often get lost in memories of the past or anxieties about the future. This disconnection prevents us from experiencing the true essence of life, which occurs now. Happiness, contrary to popular belief, is not a destination to be reached, but an experience to be lived in each moment. Mindfulness is the practice that teaches us to be fully present. This technique, rooted in Eastern traditions like Buddhism, has gained popularity in the West for its effectiveness in reducing stress and enhancing well-being. The practice involves observing our thoughts and feelings without judgment, allowing us to live the present more fully and consciously. Studies show that mindfulness can have a significant impact on our mental and emotional health. Research published in the Journal of Happiness Studies indicates that individuals who practice mindfulness report higher levels of happiness and life satisfaction. This practice not only reduces anxiety but also enhances our ability to cope with daily challenges, fostering a more resilient mindset. An intriguing aspect of living in the present is that it connects us to reality in a profound way. When we are fully engaged in our activities, each experience becomes richer and more meaningful. The little things, a conversation, a meal, or even a walk, take on new significance. This awareness allows us to appreciate the beauty of now instead of being caught up in expectations or regrets. So how can we cultivate this practice of living in the present? One of the initial steps is to create moments of pause in our daily lives. Take a deep breath and bring your attention to what's happening around you. What can you see, hear, or feel? These small moments of awareness help anchor our minds in the present, distancing us from external and internal distractions. Another effective technique is to establish a meditation routine. Set aside a few minutes each day to sit in silence, focusing on your breath. Observe your thoughts flowing by without clinging to them, like clouds passing in the sky. Over time, this practice will not only strengthen your ability to be present, but also improve your mental clarity and focus. As we incorporate mindfulness into our lives, we begin to realize that happiness is not a constant state, but rather a series of moments unfolding before us. Each moment lived with awareness becomes an opportunity to experience joy and gratitude. This shift in perspective is powerful because it transforms how we face challenges and celebrate triumphs. By understanding the value of living in the present, we prepare ourselves for a meaningful conclusion about our journey. The backwards law invites us to let go of constant striving and accept what is, allowing experiences to flow naturally. This acceptance doesn't mean passivity. It signifies openness to the possibilities life has to offer. As we reflect on the backwards law, it's crucial to remember that true happiness and fulfillment are tied to the act of releasing control and living fully in the present. By detaching from expectations and allowing ourselves to flow with life, we create a fertile space for meaningful and profound experiences. This insight leads us to consider how our thoughts influence our reality. What if I told you that overthinking can be an obstacle to accessing a higher version of yourself? Next, you will discover an ancient technique that can transform your life. By quieting the mind, you can unlock a higher vibrational energy, promoting clarity, emotional balance, and physical well-being. Watch how to reduce this excess thinking in the video appearing on your screen. See you there. Deep peace.